What if that shiver you just felt, that eerie sense you've lived this exact moment before, isn't your brain misfiring? What if it's the one honest glitch in a system designed to hide its own seams? You call it déjà vu, a harmless quirk. But what if it's actually the only proof you'll ever get that reality has been edited, quietly, without your consent, and you're only now catching the cut? Scientists will tell you déjà vu is simple. A misfire between your short-term and long-term memory. Your brain tagging a new moment as old. Neat, clinical, safe. But that explanation has never accounted for the specificity. The exact angle of light, the exact words spoken, the exact feeling of dread that arrives half a second before you remember why. Why would a misfire be so precise? Why would a glitch feel like memory of the future? Here's the uncomfortable question no lab wants to touch. What if déjà vu isn't your memory malfunctioning, but your memory correctly detecting that something was changed? Not a hallucination, but a residual echo. Proof that this exact scene once played out differently and was quietly overwritten. You're not remembering the past. You're remembering the version of now that used to exist before it was replaced. Think of reality as a film reel. Now imagine that reel isn't fixed, that somewhere something has the authority to splice it, remove a frame, insert another, and stitch the edges so smoothly that 99% of the audience never notices. But you're not the audience. For one fractured second, you glimpsed the splice. That flinch of familiarity is the visual static where two different timelines were fused together. This isn't new. Ancient philosophers called it promnesia, false memory, but they also whispered about something darker, that the soul sometimes catches sight of a life it wasn't supposed to remember. Modern physicists, chasing quantum branching and parallel timelines, arrived at eerily similar language. Every decision splits reality. Most branches vanish silently. But what if some don't vanish clean? What if some leave residue? And that residue is déjà vu. And that residue is déjà vu. Consider the Mandela Effect. Millions of people remembering the same wrong detail. A logo that looked different. A death that happened twice. A line from a movie that was never actually said. Skeptics call it false memory, shared and amplified online. But what if it's the same phenomenon as déjà vu, just experienced collectively instead of individually? What if entire populations are noticing the same edit and simply agreeing to forget they noticed? So who edits reality? That's the question that keeps this theory awake at 3 a.m. Some say it's a simulation, patched like software. Déjà vu, the loading lag of an update installing mid-scene. Others say it's consciousness itself, endlessly rehearsing existence until it gets a moment right, deleting the failed takes. Except you, somehow, remember the deleted ones. Either theory ends the same place. Reality isn't as solid as they told you it was. Here's where it gets personal. What if you aren't a passive witness to these edits? What if you're the one causing them? Every choice you almost made, every path you didn't take, still exists somewhere, still echoes. Déjà vu might be the moment two of your own timelines brush against each other, close enough to touch, close enough for your body to remember a decision your current self never made. Neuroscientists have found that déjà vu spikes near the temporal lobe, the same region tied to memory, prediction, and pattern recognition. They call this a coincidence of biology. But ask yourself, why would evolution build a warning system for something that supposedly never happens? Why give a species the ability to detect and edit to reality unless somewhere, deep down, reality needed to be checked? Some researchers call this a survival glitch, a signal that something in your environment doesn't match your expectations, a discrepancy alarm. But expectation implies memory, and memory implies a version of events your brain already lived through. If reality were static, unedited, singular, that alarm should never trigger. Every déjà vu moment is a contradiction reality can't quite hide. A crack in the paint, which raises the darkest possibility of all. What if these edits aren't random? What if they're corrections? Reality quietly patching mistakes, erasing timelines that led somewhere it couldn't allow. A death avoided, a war rerouted. A person who almost never existed, now sitting across from you at dinner, none the wiser. And you, catching the scene for half a second, are the only proof the correction ever happened. So the next time it happens, that cold wave of familiarity, that certainty you've stood in this exact spot, heard this exact sentence, felt this exact silence, don't dismiss it. Ask what it's trying to tell you. Maybe it's nothing, a neural hiccup, forgotten by morning. Or maybe, just maybe, you are standing in the wreckage of a timeline that almost was, remembering, for one flickering second, a version of reality that no longer officially exists. And if that's true, the real question isn't what got edited, it's what you were before the edit.